Hamakavi Barzel presents Rabbi Nachum Shifren, Torah scholar, author, public speaker, and good friend of the late Rabbi Meir Kahana.
Well, good evening again. Shabbat Shalom to everybody who is going to celebrate Shabbos tomorrow, which is most of the world. And we are going to combine two parshas this week, since this is Thursday night, Yom Chamishi. We'll talk about last week's very interesting parsha, Noah and the madness inside the ark. And then, of course, we have this week's parsha, LECH-LECHA, about Avraham. So first, let's talk about a few things I think we need to get straight. Last time I checked, Donald Trump, neither did he create the world, nor did he mandate that the land of Israel would belong to the Jewish people exclusively. One of the things that Rav Kahana used to tell us is that our forefathers, that is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, never hung around in Tel Aviv, never went to the malls, the coffee shops, having lattes and whatnot. They didn't make it there, but they did make it to Judea and Samaria, which are the heartland of the Jewish people. I'm not exactly sure what Trump was thinking. To me, it's a very big red flag. I don't know. You tell me. When he declared that Judea and Samaria would not be annexed by Israel, that kind of that's a big red flag. And of course, it's Israel's fault for not doing this 48 years ago. They for whatever reasons have buckled under political correctness, and what will the Gentile think? And the Gentile doesn't have anything to think. We do, facts on the ground, and then they respond however they want to. I remember when they said that moving the consulate to Jerusalem would cause World War III. Well, the only thing that ever happened is somebody slipped over a latte in Dizengoff. That was about it. So a lot of insanity, a lot of madness. But this madness, if Rav Kahana once told us that we need to eat tomatoes for half a year if we need to, and wean ourselves off of the teat of the United States, because when push comes to shove, there's that leverage that they have, and it's dangerous, So that's one thing. This whole thing of the ceasefire in Gaza is it's like Alice in Wonderland. It's not even real. They're parading around with their guns and their weapons and whatnot. They're not handing back the dead Israeli bodies as we could have imagined. Who in their right mind would think that murderers would abide by some 21-point ceasefire plan? I mean, what kind of madness is that? So I would say this is political posturing on the part of Trump. He's solved 7 world wars or regional wars. I mean, this is like the feather in his cap, as it were. But it doesn't work that way. And again, Rav Kahana used to tell us that the east is east and the west is west, and near the twain shall meet. What happens? The Arab mentality is completely different, and these people are beyond the Arab mentality. They are absolute animals that can't wait to die. They want to die for Allah. As far as I'm concerned, if I was in charge, I'd say, okay, well, you want to die, step right up here, and we can take care of you. We'll accommodate you. But the fact that the idea that we would somehow honor a peace treaty with these guys, in light of the fact that they've also murdered 4 Israeli soldiers. Who's going to explain this to the parents of those soldiers? We were supposed to be at peace, right? This is something that needs to be explained, and we're still waiting for the explanation of how this October 7th thing started to begin with. Everybody's got their ideas. I have mine. I can tell you that if the Shabak or if the Mossad wanted to, they could hear me talking right now in this house if they wanted to. Every one of my words can be recorded by some secret method. So the idea that they slept, that they were not watching, that they were not paying attention, that's baloney. That's not going to happen. This is something that really deserves to be investigated, but we still don't know what the problem was with the Yom Kippur War. They had the Granat Commission, and we don't, nobody pointed any fingers at anybody. Isn't that interesting? Golda Meir knew 24 hours in advance of the Egyptian attack that they would be attacking. Nothing. No mobilization of reserves, no calling up soldiers. You know, I have a son in Israel, and he and I are on the same page. I said, this isn't a war. This is like sheshbesh. This is like volleyball. This is like ping pong. This is not war. If it was war, we would have won the war on October 8th. Okay? To recall, you win a war when the other side is absolutely decimated or tired of fighting and they raise a white flag. And a ceasefire and peace only happens when one side absolutely, unconditionally, and totally cedes to the victor. And this is what we saw on the warship. I think it was the Yamamoto, with MacArthur signing a treaty with the Japanese. We destroyed the Japanese. They lost their will to fight, and we won. Same thing with Germany. We carpet bombed them into oblivion. And nobody, by the way, asked who's a civilian, who's not a civilian, who's a Nazi, who's not a Nazi. It's war. Israel has been playing cat and mouse here for 2 years. And I am absolutely horrified at the thought of the mothers and fathers whose sons were killed. And there's no end to this war. There's just no end to this war. The only way it will end is when one side obliterates the other. And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So this idea also of the unilateral statement from the White House that Israel is not to annex the West Bank. We're taking dictations from a Gentile nation about the land of Israel. Yeah, we are, and the reason is because we're subservient to them. We've got this notion that they order us around, and we only ask how fast they want us to move. Not good. I think that there's something really wrong here. This last parsha was a very interesting parsha. Everybody knows about the flood. Everybody knows that. Why was there a flood? Does anybody know? I mean, why did the animals need to be killed by the water, by the raging water and the inundation of the seas over the entire, continental areas? Well, if you read what Rashi says, why not? Let's get down to it. What's the reasoning for behind all these things? The world was filled with terror, with murder, with theft. Interesting that the way that the Bible states it, it says, "Ha'olam mal'a Hamas." Hamas filled the entire world. Hamas, the same group that we are trying to subjugate. Hamas. Rashi tells us there that Hamas is a violent act of thievery, of theft, of terror, and this sounds very familiar, right? Doesn't it? Mal'ah ha'aretz Hamas. The entire world became filled with Hamas. What's interesting here is the conceptual aspect of this whole flood. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what did the monkeys do to die, or the elephants, or the orangutans, or the zebras? I mean, why are they guilty? It's interesting that they saw the perversion of the human beings, the species, and they were mimicking the character of human beings. In other words, what they saw that was perverted or completely gone berserk in terms of human behavior, human relations. The whole world was like this. And this was not the Creator's idea of creating a heaven on earth for the human beings. So again, what would be the problem with the animals? Well, they imitated human beings. They were also having relations, sexual relations, out of their own species. Like a tiger with a frog or something like that. I don't know. Imagine. That's what happened. They saw human beings doing it, and they figured it was okay. Now, this is a little bit hard to imagine for some of us, for many of us perhaps, but that's what it states. And that's something that, Interesting, like it says monkey do, monkey see, monkey do. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And to those that, especially vegetarians, that are or animal lovers that are saying, "Oh, this is horrible," whatever. So an interesting concept in the Torah. God said that the whole world was created for man. I know that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. The entire world was created for the purpose of man, that he should do the will of the Creator. When that is not the case, there's no reason for the world. And so, by extension, the animal kingdom, the plants and everything, are out. It's like the subset. Interesting that the fish remained, the whales, the dolphins. They were in the water. They didn't have to get a chance to see man. The other animals that were on the land had contact with man. Matter of fact, they were cohabiting with each other to a large degree. A very weird and bizarre picture here is painted. So that's the reason for this whole thing. Noah, 120 years building the ark. The rain is coming down droplet by droplet. Everybody that comes by to say, "Hey, what are you making the ark for?" And he said, "Well, God is going to bring a flood." And we would laugh at him, of course. But those people that had the opportunity to see this were given the opportunity as well to think about their behavior, but didn't really affect anybody. So that's Noah. Interesting that in Chassidut there's an interesting treatise about the whole purpose of one of the offshoots of the flood, and they bring a quote from Proverbs, stating that Mayim Rabim lo yuchlu lechabot et ha'ava. Great waters will not extinguish the love of the Jewish people toward God. And what's interesting is that they posit there that the flood was basically it's compared to the trials and tribulations that people have earning parnasa, earning a living, the daily struggle to stay alive, get to work on time, beat the traffic, whatever it is, raising kids. And then it's interesting that they say that is something that the flood, as it were, in this case, the banal aspects of our modern materialized life is actually strengthened and given a boost through all these tests that we have, and it actually increases our emunah, our belief in God, and that's another thing that one could ponder. The next parsha is LECH-LECHA, Mimoldetecha mi'artzecha la'aretz asher areka. God has told Abraham to leave the land where he is in Haran, and to go to the land of Israel. At various points during the narrative, it's declared that the land of Israel was given to Abraham and his seed. In a chapter, next chapter, I believe, or the one after, we're going to learn that no, actually, the land of Israel is going to be inherited by the seed of Isaac. At that point, Ishmael, the other son of Abraham, will not have any claim to the land of Israel, and that's basically it's stated there for the whole world to see. There's no argument here about whose inheritance the land of Israel is. Now, there's a lot of people that have a problem with it. There's a lot of people that talk about it. There's a lot of politicians that say no. It's actually both of them. No, it's not true. Abraham stood up for what he believed, what he knew was right, for his inheritance, and for an eternal inheritance given to him by God. So we'll talk about that further. There's a few things that happen in this parsha. Basically, Abraham comes from the word ever. Ever means across the river, and the sages have said, well, his name Avraham, stemming from the root ever, across, meaning it was as though Abraham stood on one side of the river, and the entire world, with idolatry and all kinds of blasphemous stuff going on, was on the other side of the river. And that's why he's called Abraham, right? The first Jew, the first person that recognized the dominion of God and the reason for creation. So having said all that, we can wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Hopefully we'll hear good news. It's very important for us to remember the words of Rabbi Kahana, when he always would state to us that if you want respect, you have to have self-respect. Self-respect means when murderers are dealing with you, you treat them as murderers and you don't treat them as equal partners. This is the problem that we face right now. With that, God bless everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful Shabbat. And we'll see you shortly for our next talk. Please do support the JDL. Please sign up. Please subscribe. Please share this with your friends. And that would be wonderful. It would be mostly appreciated. God bless everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Battlefield line, Ariel Sharon, greatest general.